Jan, by the way, is editing the second feature film on Final Cut Pro 10. He edited the first feature film on Focus. And by the way, that first feature film was his first feature film, and that begs the question, why on earth
did I get a job?
Did you get the job?
Amazing.
And it was Final Cut Pro 10. Yeah. And you're not even from America.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
They give the shitty jobs to immigrants, right?
Exactly. No, Jan is, I want to read Jan's bio. And by the way, Jan's been to LACPUG a few times, and so we're really happy that he found the time to come tonight. Not only happy, but very grateful. Anyway, he was born in the Czech Republic and graduated from Prague's Charles University. Who is Charles named after? Some guy named Charles?
He was the king in the 15th century. He started the university. Okay. 700 years.
Okay, that's more than we want to know. And that's, anyway, he got a degree in film journalism, realizing he had more of an interest in working in film than writing about it. Jan moved to Los Angeles and enrolled into UCLA to study editing. And Kovac has honed his editing skills working on the syndicated international versions of the HBO hit series The Sopranos and 6 Feet Under and Curb Your Enthusiasm. And by re-editing these successful series, Kovac learned how to interpret and honor different directing and writing styles that enriched his visual storytelling skills. And Focus is his first feature film. Now, I'm going to show you, for those of you, anybody here actually have seen Focus? Because it's actually a damn good movie. Congratulations on that. It's really good. So I'm going to show you a trailer because that's all we can show. Okay, so we're very privileged to have Jan here because he's actually working right now and he's probably extremely tired, and we appreciate his time here. And so for the next several minutes and how long you are interested, we're going to just do Q&A. And I'd like to start off this whole conversation with, why on earth did you pick why did the directors and the producers pick Final Cut Pro 10 to do the movie Focus?
Yeah, the directors picked it. I was at the time when they approached me, I was already working on it on small file-based projects, and Glenn wanted to work on it because it was unlike anything else. He loved the roles, and for him, it was the first NLE that worked on a different paradigm than every other NLE that stopped working off a paradigm of old film paradigm and kind of moved it to digital cinema world to 21st century. So I think that was his main reason. It was easy to use for them. For me, it was easy to collaborate on it. It gave us opportunity to work basically, to skip offline kind of for theatrical editing, which was pretty amazing because we worked with almost our own neck. We have baked the CDL values in it, but we worked in full res, quad 4, ProRes, in LACC, and could switch to proxies if we wanted. That's another great function of Final Cut, the internally generated proxies. So, for example, I could do color correction of those while we were mixing, and then come back to my cutting room and just plug in my computer. Plug in my G-Rate, and my libraries were connected to 2K media. So it was another thing that was great about it for us.
So, how familiar were you with Final Cut Pro 10 before you got the gig?
I was very familiar because.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because.
So why did you want to learn it? Why did you even? It's an avid world where you live.
It's a Final Cut world where I live.
Well, now it is. Yeah.
It used to be. I've been in this business for a lot of years, and Final Cut. From Final Cut HD to Final Cut 7, that was...
Yeah, well, Final Cut 7, absolutely.
That was what I worked on most of the time. Michael Ritter knows, right? Yeah, we were at the facility that was mostly Final Cut, so I never really was in the Avid world, but
Did you have any problems going from Cut 7 to Final Cut 10? Did you immediately like it? Did you immediately get it?
I must say that I think I got it immediately. I mean, it's weird to say, but it's I don't want to say it's a challenge. It was a challenge.
It was a challenge?
It was not.
It was not.
It was
Okay.
exciting. I mean, it was like learning a new language.
Oh, so you like learning new things. I mean, you
Yeah,
like
my
learning
English
new tools.
isn't so good, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I learned my Final Cut as well as English, I guess.
So you have no problems just migrating to a different tool.
No, I think it's exciting to learn something new now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good for your brain, and it's.
Well,
it's
not if you're
good.
my age. You just don't want to
no,
learn. You
especially
don't want to
at-
learn.
especially at your age.
Yeah, no, you don't want to learn. It's like-
You don't want to do Sudoku, right? I mean, you can spend time doing Sudoku or video games, so you can learn a new software. So
so that's it.
Which one is it going to be?
Okay. Anyway, I'm starting this whole thing off. I don't want this to be all about me talking to him. I also want to be about you talking to him. This is that kind of rare opportunity now to talk to one of the first, if not the first, big studio feature film editor who's using a new NLE. And Kevin, of course, has worked with Walter Murch, who's a big Final Cut, FileMaker Pro guy. So you got, we're starting an era here. And you have a kind of the rare opportunity to ask these people questions. And this is not going to work unless you ask questions. And yes, sir, right there. How much did you use what?
We did not. I mean, it's a very interesting question for me because we loved audition. It wasn't one of the selling points for us, like to use auditions and to be auditioning takes. I mean, we kind of the way we work, we create the shape of the scene. So we have what's going on, but then we go through takes. And audition seemed like a natural fit for going through all the takes. At some point, we even discussed, let's build a scene and let's put all the takes in the audition and let's preview it. The problem we had was that most of our show is in multicam, and auditions don't work in multicam, so we could not use it. We used it on one scene. We had a hard decision to make about that scene, so we broke the multicams and loaded the entire scene with every take, every setup, and then previewed it. So we were sure that if we really got it or didn't get it, and so that was useful for that. We still have hopes for that working in multicam, or I would definitely use it on a single cam movie. I use it a lot for when I cut music in. I got 5-6 cues in there, and then pick later. I mean, that's really useful. Or for voiceover. Esther over there did some voiceover for me today, and I needed someone coughing, and I had a couple of takes and auditions.
To be clear here, even so you use multicam a lot in focus
95%.
all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Even if it was a single cam shot? I mean, if it was, how did you do that?
We rarely got single cam shots, but it was mostly...
Rarely?
Yeah, rarely, yeah. Mostly two cam.
Two, three?
Mostly two, sometimes the complicated scene, the pickpocketing scene, New Orleans, that was like up to 6 cameras.
6?
Yeah, but that was rarer, mostly. I mean, most of the show were two cameras. Sometimes cross-shooting, sometimes just punching in, in the same direction, just different sizes.
And you talked a little bit about you do some color correcting, things like that. When you do 2, 3, 6 cameras, how does that affect lighting for the shots?
I think there was a pretty good match, but what I found out on going from the cutting room to previews in a theater that mostly my black levels didn't translate well in the screenings.
Wait a minute, they used your black levels?
Yeah.
Really? That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, we just output because we were in 2K, so we just outputted high resolution QuickTime. We could have made the DCP ourselves, but for security reasons, studio had to make it. So we outputted high resolution QuickTime, made a DCP and screened basically out of the box what we had, but especially on the silver screen, the black levels get mushy, so you need to crush
By the way,
it out.
can you hear him okay? I mean,
Can you
the
so
volume's all right? Okay.
so you have to adjust from what you are cutting to what's gonna be on the screen. If you are going straight from the box, use FSI monitor for that. That translated really well, and proxies worked really good for it. And then just verified what I had once I plugged it back into my 2K.
So, did you find that the blacks in the theater were too high or too low?
About too milky.
She asked if the blacks in the theater were too high or too low.
Most of the color correction that's done on set, they don't push it too much, so you have something to work with. You have latitude, so I think the black levels aren't, true black. They are a little above, but the monitoring you have in the edit bay doesn't really show that. Or you.
I mean, how did that work? Didn't Light Iron do the levels on the set?
Yeah, they did, but you don't want to crush it too much, so you have latitude later on.
Oh, I see.
You want to be a little conservative the way you color.
And so you tweaked.
I tweaked it. There were some secondary color corrections when there were some problems, and keyframed color masks.
Do you feel comfortable doing that with a director of photography who's not there?
Yeah. He did his job already, and he's coming for DI.
Okay. Questions over there?
You said a little bit about using multicam when you have multiple takes. If you have several cameras that are all running at the same time, they're all the same time code, they sync up. If you're using multicam to manage several takes, how do you sync them up, and how do you deal with the fact that they don't actually sync up? I'm interested in how you manage that.
But they would always be jam synced. The A and B cams or A through D cams would always be jam synced. So I would never have something that was not syncable by time code at the time using
Yes, you might have like wild sound and you sync that up to a particular set of cameras, but if you have several takes of the same set of dialogue done at 3 different times, do you try to put those all in a stack in the multicam?
No, we would never do it. But we didn't do any string outs either. But we had keywords based on the script where the lines of dialogue are numbered, and they reset with every new scene. So let's say scene 1 had keyword L1 through 3 for line 1 through 3, and so forth. So I could preview all these lines, basically, all the different takes really quickly without doing any string out. But it had to be prepped by my assistants with these keywords. Every third line, yeah. So it was basically the only thing that the directors liked about Avid was script sync. So you're trying to emulate that so we could preview. And based on, as I said, we go through the shape of the scene and then we look for takes. So I could easily, when they said, hey, let's hear this line, let's hear all we got on this line. With these keywords, I could really easily go through every single take on that line. So that
If you can pass the microphone to whoever.
Actually, I have one more follow-up question.
Sure.
I don't think it's on. Oh, yes, it is on.
Yeah, I think it's on.
Using multicam, if you want to take one camera from one take and say a reverse camera from another take, do you try to put that into multicam, or is it just you just have multiple timelines on top of
just the same take, different cameras, never different takes, different cameras. And I mean, that's what the auditions would be for, or the keywords would be for, but I would never put it in the multicam because it would not match. It would be hard to edit.
That's enough.
You know, obviously, multicam is something that everybody's got to get used to, especially with television, because that's what everybody uses. Next question.
Here. So, Jan, thank you. I really want to thank you, just like I told you before, that you put Final Cut 10 back on the map for us. There's a lot of huge fans of Final Cut 10 that felt that didn't have a voice. We worked on Avid and felt like we were doing underground work at home on Final Cut 10.
So it was like the early days of Final Cut. Yeah.
Well, that's actually what I wanted to talk about. Just like Cold Mountain has put Final Cut on the map, Final Cut 3, I think, 3.0, you are solely responsible for putting back Final Cut 10 back on the map. Did you, from all this publicity, did you get any call from Apple or any support that they reached out to you and, you know, whether they thanked you or asked you on how they could improve, you or Kevin probably, you know, in that matter?
Now, let me, before I answer it, let me just say I'm not solely responsible for it. I think it's the post community, aside from, you know, the team you work with. And it felt like, you know, while prepping it, it felt kind of like underground work, but which was fun. But I want to thank Michael for you know, LACPUG, and he always says, you know, go up there and introduce yourself to someone. I met Sam Mestman here, who was instrumental to our workflow. Greg and Philip from Intelligent Assistants, I met them here. They became instrumental for us, and I mean, without meeting these guys, it would be probably impossible to get the first show going like that. And as far as Apple, I think we have good relationship, and I think they might be grateful. I am definitely grateful for what they you know, for the software they gave us and for the updates they gave us.
And I was gonna say,
He just asked, will you guys get an Apple Watch? I don't think so.
but because you use so many things, and Kevin, for example, for the shot notes, and is Apple taking notes of all these essential third-party apps that are being used in the workflow? And do you think in the future they're planning on introducing it like within Final Cut without it being a third-party plugin?
Actually, if you talk to Philip Hodgetts, they've already introduced a tool that they developed, which is no longer for sale because Apple took it and did that. But go ahead, Kevin.
I think Apple is very committed to Final Cut, improving it, adding tools, adding workflow, but they're also very open to third parties doing what they do. And they've built very robust XML, they've built FXPlug for amazing plugins, they've built tools for third parties to do whatever we need to do to make Final Cut usable. You can do completely custom pipelines, you can use third-party tools, you can use off-the-shelf Final Cut and still get the job done. Whether they're gonna add these things, who's to say? It's Apple, they can do whatever they want. And they will. But now they're at least very supportive of third parties and developing actively each release. XML is getting better and better and better and better every release, and allowing us as third parties to build better tools each time.
Thank you, that makes me feel good.
Mr. Kamas?
There's a rumor going around that there was a dual cut done, meaning it was cut at two NLEs at the same time. Can you speak to that at all?
Michael says that there was a rumor going around that Focus was actually cut.
That there may have been a Final Cut 7 cut concurrently as a fail-safe or something along those lines. And there's a lot of rumors, so I thought I'd just ask and get it out there.
So the rumor is false. There was no one cutting on Final Cut 7 or Avid concurrently with what I was doing, or I and the directors were cutting. But we had to prove to studio that we are going to be able to go to Final Cut 7 or Avid. We had it, I think, 5.5, in case they fire me, because they fire directors in case the system doesn't work. It was the first time, so we had to prove a lot of things to them. And it's logical, and I mean, they are in different position than we are, you know, big budget, the responsibilities are set up differently. So we had to prove that, and the directors cut doesn't preview well, they want to bring a different crew. No talent pool available in Final Cut, and so
Right.
you have to go someplace else. So we have to have that pipeline, and Mike Masdorf was really helpful in setting that up. We had to have that pipeline set up, and we had to prove to them that it's possible in case that would happen. But there was no one cutting on Final Cut 7 or Avid while we were doing the movie.
Thank you.
No. There is bigger talent pool now.
I know somebody's going to ask this question, but I might as well ask it first. What drove you nuts and what did not work when you were doing Focus?
What I wouldn't say drove us nuts, but I would say that was something we would like to have improved. And it's when you work on the multicam clips and you do a lot of performance enhancing VFX, split screen, putting together actors from
Split screen.
taking one actor from one take and the other actor from different take and putting them together in the same together on screen, so we don't have to cut, or like at Super Meet, the stuff I showed up with.
Oh, right.
We moved the head from a different take and moved it up. Basically, changing pacing without need to cut. So any tracking software, use SliceX and TrackX. You need to go back to the single cam in order to analyze the clip. The same goes for optical workflow. You cannot do optical workflow on multicam clip. You have to reveal the single cam. So
it was essentially a multicam issue.
It's a matchback kind of an issue.
Okay.
Or, if you could finalize multicam the way you finalize auditions, then the problem would be solved. Something along those lines.
So no big deal. You work
No,
around.
it's not a big deal. It's just a little more. It's a few more clicks to get there, to get to that single.
It's
clip.
a compound clip issue?
We stayed away from
compound
those
clip?
just because I was afraid of them. As far as for turnovers, and I thought at the time we couldn't break them apart. Couldn't break them apart easily, or you could.
Yeah.
So it's just me problem. But we stayed away from. We tried to make it as streamlined as possible for the turnovers.
Yeah, who here
VFX
finds
or
compound clips
sound.
kind of scary and weird? Anybody? Maybe it's just me. Okay. And Jan. Anybody else? And make sure you pass the microphone around.
I'm wondering if you're doing something really differently on this show that you're working on now from Focus?
Differently?
Yeah, what's the difference?
Yeah, what's the difference between the movie that you're doing now and Focus? Anything?
I didn't have any thanks to these guys, I didn't have any downtime yet.
Really?
Yeah, they keep me worried. There is no technical issues. I think I had few days of downtime by now on Focus, and this is so far really smooth. It sounds good on the microphone. But,
How long?
So that's a really good difference. What else is different? I think our VFX workflow is kind of a little different. We are going. What do we do?
Excuse me. For VF, is this on?
I don't know.
There we go.
All right, there we go. For our VFX pipeline on this film, we have the original camera files in-house, so that's going to make turning over to VFX much simpler. We don't have to go to a lab to pull the files. And we're incorporating Resolve to do the exporting of all the camera original to the vendors. So that's going to be a lot simpler, a lot faster to keep it all in-house. That's a major, difference.
Since Sam was talking earlier about the SAN, the other different thing is we weren't on the SAN during production on Focus. We are on SAN, XN. We were on XN during production, and we are on XN now. And the different things about our libraries is we don't have them locally. We have them stored on an NFS volume, so we can share the projects and libraries easily between editors, me and the directors, and between myself and the assistants.
So about that sharing, if I may, you basically have to directly communicate who's working with what library at what time, right? Because only one person can access.
Correct. They have to basically to check in, check out. We have the folder set up with our names, so if you start working on it, pop it in that folder, and when you're done, someone can grab it.
Oh, so you move the library into a folder that says
It says Jan or Glenn or Kevin,
Got it.
and then you just move it out again.
By the way, I don't want anybody in the back to feel like they're out of touch here. If you want to pass the microphone to anybody in the back.
How do you keep track of the right word without?
Microphone.
How do you find yourself keeping your audio organized when you don't have tracks, and how do you keep an eye on where your dialogue, music, effects are, and for that matter, that it might not be there when you get back to it thanks to the magnetic timeline?
Once, if the roles weren't assigned correctly from the get-go, it would be a problem. But once the roles are set up and these guys set them up like perfectly, some of it comes from sync and link and IXML data, but some of it is they have to do manually, right? For some music and some sound effects. So, but once if you have that, then it's really easy because you can disable the role, you can collapse it. So you can highlight the other role. So if you're working in sound effects.
So you have to work from the roles. You have to work from the roles controls rather than visually knowing where things are just by glancing at your sequence.
I don't know. Can you repeat the question?
Well, it's no longer the case where your dialogue is in one track.
Correct, yeah.
So you have to turn roles on and off to take inventory of where your audio is.
No, I mean I don't know. Just work that way. I don't know. I never really thought about it. I mean, it's never been a problem for me.
We do passes through the reels and check that the roles are correct. And I use the highlight feature a lot. I select the role name and look through and scan. You can also use the timeline index, and there's a column you can display that has the role, so you can see there. That's kind of how I've been dealing with managing the roles.
Thank you.
Keep passing it around if anybody has any more.
Is that it?
Give me 5 minutes to get the raffle together.
Did you apply a LUT to your edit?
Yes. So all of our area footage is in log C, and we use the Final Cut log C LUT directly in the inspector. And other camera formats, if it didn't have a LUT in Final Cut, we used a third-party plugin called Lut Utility with LUTs delivered from the DITs that were custom to apply to clips.
Thanks.
What kind of communication did you have with the DIT, and what kind of files did they give you?
We had a lot of communication with the DIT. He was down the hall from us. We saw him every day, and we got 2K ProRes 444 XQ files, which is what we're cutting in. They got a mic down.
I just want to say one thing about the XQ files. So on Focus, we shot ProRes 2K Quad 4. Now we are doing 2K Quad 4 XQ. On Focus, we had to do all green screen shots in Array Raw. Thanks to XQ, we don't have to go to Array Raw anymore. Even all the green screen shots can be done in ProRes, and we stress tested the picture on the big screen, blew it up, and it's pretty amazing.
This is a workflow question. How often did you work a sequence and then export it as finished and then re-import it back into the timeline? Or did you like do all the color correction exactly in place with the original footage? I mean, it's kind of like, that's an example, but. Yeah.
I did, all the color corrections I did was, I worked in Reels We worked in reels, and so it was reel based. Then we kicked out the QuickTime. I don't know if I answered your question, but
Did you do color correction on original footage before you brought it in?
we did some. If we felt that it was too hot or didn't feel right within the sequence, then we adjusted it, and so we did color correction in LACC. But Final Cut was flipping the Rec 709 on automatically. But that's we did actually there are a few scenes we worked on so they would feel darker. It was a tonal issue, emotionally tonal issue, not color based tonal issue.
Time for about one more question before we have to go to the wrap-up.
Did you have actual color correction? Did you actually have a color correction session with a colorist, or did you guys just color the movie and that's what we're seeing?
We did a color session when we went to DI. Then we sat with the colorist, and the directors gave him notes, and he basically brought the original CDLs what we had. He had a QuickTime, the color corrected QuickTime for us as a reference. He did his pass, see if he can, how he felt about certain scenes, and then we talked about what's best for the movie or what we think about it, and then he did his few passes. It was fairly quick. It was a fairly quick session.
And was it similar to what you guys did originally, or did it change dramatically?
It didn't change. It didn't change dramatically. It was pretty close, and I mean they did a great job, and there were like adjustments, but it was pretty close to what the directors wanted from the get-go, and what we were seeing all the way through.
Okay, we have to move along, and please thank Jan Kovac and Kevin Bailey.